Hello and welcome to another episode of Gridiron Hub Live. Steve, are you enjoying your tea there?
Yeah, I am, thanks.
Yeah, sorry we're a bit late. You know how these things go. But tonight we're going to discuss recruitment, our ideas, our tips. Steve, do you want to go through your credentials and why I've asked you to be on this show? And I
was going to ask you to tell me.
Credentials for a reason.
Well, I was going to ask you to tell me because, I don't work in recruitment.
No.
I don't, run a club or get actively involved in that sort of. I mean, I've done a few little bits, over the years, but I don't see why I am. I want to understand your logic behind me getting me on this and getting me talking about.
To be fair, I seem to
recruitment or whatever it is.
I seem to remember a live stream where we were discussing about websites and getting views on your websites and getting people to your website. And you said that they were your credentials. And as such,
recruitment.
Well, you know yourself, part of the process of recruiting is getting people to see your brand, understand your club. And a big part of that is getting them to your website. And there's obviously a few more important aspects of recruiting, which we're going to get into. But I know very much you're on the website side of things and the social media side of things.
So I get that. I get that logic. And absolutely, I can absolutely bring some flavour to that, give examples and stuff. But, but I want to sort of caveat that with I've been a player, and maybe a little bit of coaching, but really, I'm not that interested in coaching. So I've coached, helped out with the youth team or whatever, helped bring on new players and stuff. But I don't, and I've been like a player rep for a club, towards the committee and all that. But I've not ever had to sort of define a recruitment strategy.
No, I think it's important.
I do know a lot about the whole that other side of it, like the digital side of I suppose a club or a brand, because I've done it for a brand. I haven't done it for a club, but I know a lot about that.
I think it's important to know at this point that we're not experts in the recruitment field. I think it's it's a very difficult thing to get right. This conversation is about our ideas, having a discussion about what other people have said to us on Facebook, etc. And hopefully people will pop up in the comments with their ideas as well. I want it to kind of be a roundtable discussion about recruitment. It's for me the most important aspect of American football within the UK is the recruitment side of it, whether that's players, referees, coaches.
But this is what I was going to say. What's the scope of that? Is it so? It's not just players. You're talking about refs, coaches. What about other people that are involved in a club, running a club?
Well, this show I think will be targeted more towards clubs recruiting. And getting their name out there, getting people to the game or getting people through the door type thing. But I think all aspects of a British American football struggle with recruitment. Like I say, even BAFRA are absolutely dying to get referees and are struggling. And there's no tried and tested and 100% method that works straight away. It's just important that we have a discussion around it and try and bash our brains together to try and come out with some positive outcome for teams out there. It is the season to be jolly, but it's also the season to start recruiting. It's true though, isn't it? It's looking like certainly in January when a lot of people start with the New Year's resolutions and start thinking about what they're going to do for the day.
So that really does tie into the whole social media thing, which we'll get into later. But there is a huge part of that you can align to events or things that are happening to drive better numbers.
And although we might not have many people viewing it, we've had 3 or 4 messages on Instagram asking, will this show be recorded so people can go back and watch it? So I do think people are interested in it. I love
and we shared this on different
we shared this on the groups and stuff, and I'd love people to, I was trying to get the community to come up with some examples of good recruiting they've seen, and we didn't really get any. It was more to do with we should do this, we should do that. I mean, they will come into this conversation. There's a conversation we're going to have.
Well, it's funny because I know of some rogue recruiting tactics that have happened as well, which I'd like to sort of talk about.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, like some more, rogue guerrilla, that sort of thing. Like, not mainstream, probably frowned upon. Well, definitely frowned upon, but actually have been effective. So
as long as they're not illegal.
Then, no, not illegal. Well, you'll see what I mean when I there's one example in particular that's just so bad, but it worked.
I'm excited to find out. But yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I have been involved in recruiting when I was on a committee. I'd say we recruited rather successfully, and I'm going to go through what we did, and I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are and other people's thoughts are on what we did. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I think I think that year we had something like 35 rookie players down, which was by far the greatest number we've ever had. So, and I was involved in organising that as well as kind of getting the word out there. So,
I've just noticed you've got a Crew Railroaders hoodie on. I think this is the first time I've seen you on a live stream with a team's insignia on you.
Well,
is that done on purpose?
No. The truth is, I was wearing a Liverpool hoodie, and I was like, I can't go into an American football street wearing a Liverpool hoodie. And then I saw the Crew Railroaders one, and I was just like, yeah, do you know what? And then I think a lot of, so we've mentioned the Crew Railroaders. The Crew Railroaders is the team that I helped recruit for, and, we did rookie sessions, etc., etc. And at the time, the Northwest is saturated by really good clubs. You've got Merseyside, Manchester, Chester, Halton, Tamworth, Shropshire, and Staffordshire Surge, all within half an hour of Crew. So all them teams are within half an hour of Crew. And I remember sat at the committee meeting, and the committee going, well, we can't really recruit anybody, where we're based. And we were like, 1 second, there's people, like, we kind of looked into it, and we found that there were people driving past our training ground to get to Chester. And we were like, there's something we're not doing right as a club, and and some will say it's not evolved much, but it is what it is. But I do kind of want to go through what we did, and like I say, we had a really good turnout, and I think they still to this day use similar kind of methods that we used back in the day. So it'd be fair. So I just want to go through
quickly that issue that you've raised. That I think that's a huge issue, right?
Yeah.
But you need to look into it a bit deeper. But if you know of players that are driving or traveling past you to go to someone else, that needs to be looked into. I think it could be a level thing. It could be that whichever team you're in, if you're at the top tier, bottom tier, whatever, they just don't they don't want to play there. It could be that their mates are playing there. They're from a location and they're willing to travel to say, look, I played for my hometown. All of that sort of stuff you can't really do much about. But if it's because they feel there's a better quality of coaching, it's a better club, and all that sort of stuff, then you need to find that out really, and start to address it. My problem, I think that one of the biggest problems is when those sort of discussions are had within clubs, the reaction isn't one of self-reflection; it's one of, it must be something that they're doing wrong. And like people take it personally, because they put so much into the clubs, right?
I do think committees can get really defensive when you go, well,
defensive. That's probably the word I was looking for.
You know what I mean? Like, by the way, guys, you've got a player who drives past us to go to Chester. He drives past our training ground, and they were in the same division at the time, and you're kind of going like, what are we doing wrong for them to drive?
Well, that's what you should be asking, rather than what's wrong with them. But then you also need to it's not just ask the question, it's about being thick-skinned with the answer and feeling, okay, is there a better way of us doing something? And I suppose we're getting off topic slightly there, because that's more to do with the change management within an organization, but absolutely, people's ability to take, I suppose, criticism. I suppose that's how they're looking at it, but maybe constructive feedback.
I was going to say it's constructive feedback, isn't it? You're right.
But it's that reaction that actually will drive positive change or not. So it from a I don't know, if you're someone that's trying to affect the change, whatever your position is within the organization, and you're coming up against that, it just makes things a lot harder. You have to really think about how you're going to, gradually turn the oil tanker, as opposed to making a nice agile move back in another direction, because everyone, there's no thick skins there, and you haven't got to worry about calling anyone's baby ugly, right?
Yeah. It's also important as well. Certainly, again, we're going off topic a little bit, but once you get them players down there, you have to keep them there. And I don't mean like hold them to ransom, but you've got to have good enough coaches, you've got to have good enough facilities and set up and all that sort of stuff to go with it. So there's no point being a top recruiter but not having the coaches and the facilities and all that sort of stuff to go with it. You could recruit 35 new players, but you've only got kit for 5, and all of a sudden you look like a shit club. So it's important. You've got to get your recruitment level right, but you've got to get your club organisation right as well. Chris Warren's just popped up. We often do player feedback services to help adjust. I mean, a lot of teams do that. I think. I don't know. Did you ever do that with the teams?
I've never. No, I've been asked, and I suppose it depends how you look at the word survey. Someone could survey just by sending text messages and how's everything going. Or for me, when I hear survey, it's more like a feedback survey. It's like an online thing, a form you have to fill out. But I suppose it depends on how you take that out. But
is it a Survey Monkey? We did something like that and sent it to all the players to get that.
Yeah, so no, I've never been at a club that has asked that, but I have been at a club, where, like I said, I was a player rep. Chris has just mentioned anonymous online ones, which is exactly something I was just about to get into. Right? I think that the protection of anonymity will get you that, that more critical. That more critical feedback, it needs to be taken in the right way by the people receiving it, and also I suppose there's an element of, just because someone's saying something, it doesn't mean it's true, but you also don't want to have that so that you're blinkered to everything that's going on, right? So you have to be able to weigh things up as, is this a reasonable thing between the group, between the committee, between those that are absorbing that feedback and trying to do something with it. Okay, how valid is this? Is this a one-off thing? Is this something that can actually, to quote Coach Scott, was make the boat go faster, right? Like, is this going to move us in the right direction, or are we just, are we pandering to an anomaly of individuals in a certain subculture that we don't really need to? So you have to make sure that you're evaluating it. But I've never been at a club that has offered anonymous online feedback. I think that's a great idea.
I did it as a coach.
It's always just been like a text message, or you're the player rep, go and find out from the guys, tell me what's wrong, sort of thing. And I think there's a different dynamic, because there's stuff that people wouldn't want to tell me as the player rep. I know Steve's dick, or I'm not saying with that, but it removes any any potential political complications, and you can just say what you want.
You're right. And if somebody's got something to say that's bad against the board or the committee, and they say it to you, they obviously then start to worry that you go, well, David said this, and and you wouldn't do that as a player rep, but they don't know that type thing. So you're right.
You don't want them. That's a really good point, because you don't want to have that as the people talking about it. You don't want to weight things based on how good or bad or how liked and disliked a player is. It should just be like, this is the feedback, and we review it as a collective. So it makes sense, I suppose, for both of those reasons. I have not been at a club that does that. I'd love to know how many clubs do it, and maybe it's something that we could offer at Gridiron Hub and help people, like a standard form that they can utilize, because that sort of stuff for us is easy to pull together and facilitate. But I think, but also what that doesn't do, although it could, you could, it depends on what question you ask, but you don't get the feedback of the people that don't play for your club. But that's a much more difficult thing to have, right? And I think let's say if you, as the Crew Railroaders, sent out 10 online feedback forms to players of 5 other clubs around the area, those other clubs might get really pissed off.
Yeah, of course.
About it as well. So yeah, I think that's quite a difficult thing to garner.
There's a lot of cross-team recruiting goes on. You wouldn't believe. I'm not gonna name any names or point fingers at any clubs, but certainly in the Northwest, like I say, where it's really saturated, like the teams around here. I think with where I live right now, I can get to 6-7 teams in 30 minutes. And if I was a top athlete, they'd all be vying and trying to, get me to go to their clubs by different ways. And so there is a lot of cross recruiting. So do you know what? If you did lose a player to, say, Chester,
cross recruiting, is that what you call it? We call it poaching.
Poaching, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So Adam's popped up, Adam Brown. It doesn't reply to my PMs though, but we've done Survey Monkey surveys anonymously and had to hard swallow feedback, which I imagine every club would have. We also sent it to players who stopped attending. If you just send it to current players, that's
a really good idea. Yeah. When you leave a company, your exit interview.
Exit interview.
Yeah. Really good point, Adam. Really good point.
I love that. Right, he's not coming down again. Right, get him in. We're going to have an exit interview with him before he leaves.
Yeah.
But you know what? You only learn from asking the questions. Like, we joke about it, but if you don't know where you're going wrong, how you're meant to improve.
But also, it's good to know what you're doing right as well. Exactly. So those feedback things aren't necessarily always critical, but critiqued, but I think that the information is critical for good and bad, right? So especially with rookies, what attracted you to the club? How do you know about the sport? Why did you stay with us? Not why you're here, but that getting an understanding of how they see the club and what made them stick around, and understanding what their goals are, that actually ties into this whole marketing thing I was going to talk about, which is what's their driver? Is it fitness? Is it achievement? Is it the camaraderie? What are they looking for out of a club, and what are we doing well that's maintaining that for them? How are we satisfying that for them, and then obviously more importantly, how do we continue to do that? And should we now be promoting this out because we'll attract more people that hopefully will stick around for that same reason? That's the clever side of feedback. Is looking at what you're doing well as well, and how you can then, the idea is you want to exaggerate and amplify the good stuff, the stuff that you want to do, and scale back and avoid and cull the negative stuff.
Ian's just popped up, and he's basically echoing what I think point number one from us is. The nail on the head, guys. Good recruitment starts with a good, well-run club and offers what players want. Good coaching, well set up training, and positive ideology. Don't ask why people leave. Ask what you can do to get them to stay and bring it in more. Yeah, exactly the point. At the end of the day, you can be the best recruiter, but if you haven't got the club, there's no point. So I think kind of point number one would be make sure you've got the club structure in place to keep the recruits when you get them. I know you're just eating, so just quickly, I asked a question on a few Facebook groups. I was curious how other members of the community, what they felt was hard about recruiting, what they felt worked well, what any ideas they had. So in the BAFCA group, Ted Faulkner popped up, and he said, rather than us doing the same, couldn't BAFCA do a video? I mean, a generic "come play football, there's something for everyone" deal. At another level, just to mention of how to search for local teams on BBC Sky would help everyone. Oh, Gridiron Hub also offer the facility.
What are you guys on about? Yeah.
Probably better than BBC, to be honest. And Sky.
So to answer that, there was a huge effort. There was a huge effort a number of years ago.
Are we going to mention?
I don't know the number of years. Sorry.
Are we going to mention the elephant in the room when it comes to BAFA and recruiting?
What's that? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
You do know what I'm talking about. The Neil Reynolds 10K.
How are you? No, that I didn't know you were talking about that. But are you saying that I thought it was 12? But are you saying that money?
I'm not going to argue the money. I mean,
it doesn't matter. Are you saying
Reynolds got paid a lot of money to promote the British game on his podcast?
Yeah.
Like, for me,
but are you saying that was a recruitment drive to get players to go to clubs?
Well, yeah, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to promote the British game, get more. You know, at the end of the day, BAFA are not stupid. The more players they can get involved in the game, the more money they make. Like, it's that simple. So, BAFA, I mean, this is an old BAFA now. This is not the new BAFA, so there's just no way a pop at the new BAFA. But the old BAFA did pay Neil Reynolds a substantial amount of money to promote the British game on one of his podcasts, which, for me, was just ludicrous. Like, I don't know what your thoughts on it were, but, like, I don't understand what a waste of
Reynolds. If I was Neil Reynolds, I'd be rubbing my hands about it. But
I want to know. He banned me on Twitter.
Although he still gets a lot of stick about it. Apparently, like, there is a load of people out there that I follow Twitter to an extent because we've got an account on there, but I'm not a huge Twitter user. We got people that run it for us, but I do. I look at it and it seems to be that there's a lot of people that are blocked by Neil Reynolds from British American football. You seem to be one that proudly proclaiming that, but he was the target of it. But I don't know. Like I see that I think people took their frustrations out on both sides, but I would blame the old BAFA. The old BAFA. I mean, the old board, the people that used to run BAFA. And the reason for that is that if you're paying someone to do a job and they're not doing it to an adequate level, and you're letting them get away with it, then it's your fault, right? And that's basically it. Like Neil was contracted in to do. Well, I don't know what he was contracted in to do, but it was seen as he didn't do enough, and that was essentially. And then he had that big thing where he posted a statement. He obviously knew that as well. He posted the statement saying, "I'm no longer going to associate with British American football." And do you know what? I think that has been a huge. I've seen a huge difference in coverage of American football on like Sky since, because I can remember. So for instance, when I won the Div 1 with the Knights, the first time I won it, we went undefeated, 2008, I think. Hey, don't stop for that, mate. 12-0 season is nothing to be turned up at.
Can I ask a quick question on that season?
Yeah.
Are you going to mention it in every live stream we do together from now until ever?
I don't think I've mentioned it every live stream.
You do. You do with Iron.
Do I? No. Yeah, I will, yeah. I'm quite proud of it. I should get my ring out and show you. Although I'm not. Well, I don't know. It's a tier 2 win. I want to win tier 1. But anyway, that game was attended by Sky Sports News, Sky Sports camera crew, and they even provided a mascot. This lion that wore the different kits from both teams at different times. We spent one half of the game on one side and one half on the other, posed with pictures of the winner. Posted pictures with the winner, and what position did he? He was just a mascot, mate. He didn't play anything. But and then what there was, and this is available on YouTube. I had it on my Skybox for years, and my mum had it on her one for years. When there was coverage of an NFL game, what was his name? The guy that passed away, Kevin Cadle. Is that his name?
Yeah.
The presenter that used to do it. So he was like doing a voiceover of like highlights of the game, talking through like the first half and the second half and the different scores and all that. And it was like it was shown during halftime as an NFL game. And they I think it's like 8 minutes long. So 8 minutes of the game, and
Yeah.
Amazing exposure. You don't get that, and since then, and that was that wasn't even the top tier. This was a Div 1 championship. It wasn't the Premier, or I think it was Div 1A at the time was the upper tier. No, I can't remember, but yeah, it was the second tier, and it was funny because like they had interviews with like people after the game, and I don't know why they aired it, but there were two really disgruntled. We beat the Cardinals, the Ipswich Cardinals. There were two really disgruntled Ipswich players that they interviewed. Some old boys that were like, "Oh well, they wouldn't have beat us. We beat them 47-7, right?" And so they were like moaning, and I loved it. I loved watching them moan for like 30 seconds on it. But the point, rather than me getting into that, the point is the exposure at the time, and one of I think a defensive lineman for the Cardinals was part of the media crew for Neil Reynolds and Kevin Cadle, like they knew him.
Yeah.
So they mentioned him during the broadcast. So, I think that helped in terms of its prominence, even though his team lost and got smashed. But it also, but also there was this just, the NFL coverage on Sky Sports would talk about the British game, and it doesn't. There's nothing now, and I don't know if I can attribute it to, but I don't remember. I think from ever since that whole, Neil Reynolds thing happened, it's sort of just it's either dissipated straight away or it's slowly deteriorated to nothing like it. It's nothing now. So I've got, I don't know, my view on it. Like, I don't really get upset by it. I know a lot of people do and have. I think it's a failing on Baffer's part rather than Neil Reynolds. But Neil Reynolds, as a contractor, should have done his job. But maybe he was also influencing the TV coverage that we used to get on that national scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that was the case, he should have come out and said that.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe he couldn't.
Well, maybe. I mean, for me, I don't know what your thoughts are. I was thinking of what, should Baffer not help clubs recruit, but help the game recruit in the UK?
So, yeah, that's the bit I was getting into. I started talking about it, wasn't it? But I can't remember how many years ago, maybe 7. I don't know. Everything goes by quickly these days. There was this there was this effort, and they called it Get Into American Football. And I just looked at it now, getintoamericanfootball.com. That was live even about 9 months ago. It's not live now. I looked.
Why don't you buy it?
Yeah. I'll buy it and sell it back to him. But this was a huge effort from Baffer. I assume there was other people involved, but it was about getting into American football in every, in all of those different categories. So volunteering, photography, playing, coaching, helping running a club. And it was an a nationwide effort, and there was constant, social media posts about it, constant mention of it on various places online. I remember Bristol, the Bristol Academy. Well, I don't know what they were called at the time, but they were doing a lot of promotion about it. So there has actually been, campaigns in the past. I don't know how successful that was. I can't sit here and say it worked really well. We went from X number to what. We had this many hits,
haven't we? So
sorry,
we've got more teams than ever right now.
I don't know if that's a direct result of getting to AmericanFootball.com, because this is the first you've heard of it, right? And I assume everyone watching's never heard of it either. Maybe one or two. But so there has been efforts in the past where the national governing body have done like a, like what that person said, like a broad global involvement thing. But I think in order for them to do that again, you'd probably need to see what the success metrics were of their previous effort, because it may be something that they tried out and it just didn't work. But I would also say, in the digital world that we live in now, or that the more digital world that we live in now, that you'd probably find a campaign like that would work even better than it did that many years ago.
Yeah,
And obviously, obviously us like Gridiron Hub, we'd jump on board with that and help promote it and stuff like. But it was something that even clubs were getting involved in sharing and latching onto and stuff. Like it was a really, really good initiative.
Quick question, because I don't want to get stuck on Baffer, because we're trying to help clubs, but we've obviously got to talk about Baffer. Is there any mileage, do you think, in Baffer putting kind of stalls and people out at the NFL International Series, or are we kind of beyond that now, or do you think that's something they should consider?
Yeah, I say stalls. I mean,
all you need is a net. We've all seen when I went to the games, you have like I've got to make sure I get this right. Draft Kings there, not Daft Kings. They do the other podcast.
Daft Kings are.
But where you had to throw a ball through a hole to win, random crap. But it was good fun, and it cost money. Now back to do something like that, and it probably
they could. Yeah,
you don't have to charge people money to do it, but because what you're actually doing is getting out the name.
You'd have to treat it as like a trade show, right? So what I would, with something like that, you don't just want it to be manned by one or two people where one of them's telling everyone where to stand and the other one's lobbing the balls back. You want a team of another sort of 5, 6, 10 people that when someone does it and like the parents are watching the kids do it, then they're saying, "Oh, whereabouts do you guys live? Oh, there's this team local to you. You can get involved." Like that would make that successlow. But the act of just having people throw a fucking people just lob a ball through a net and keeping it low resource in terms of people there like manning it, you don't really gain anything. So you'd have to have that the bodies there to help with the conversion of it and having the conversation and talking more about it. I think it's a good idea if managed in the correct way. I think is a better idea. Oh, sorry, go on, Will.
On that note, you're speaking to the CEO of Baffer tomorrow on live stream.
Yeah, I am.
So,
I think. It may well come up tomorrow when I speak to Pete.
I don't know if Baffer get free tickets for the international series. I'd imagine they probably get a certain amount of free tickets. But what I was thinking is, if you said to a team, the Crew Railroaders, send 10 lads down to help us run this stall, and then they can have tickets to the game, you'd get 10 lads tomorrow. You know.
Well, that's the other thing. You then could say, or you could say to 10 different clubs, send us someone from your club in full kit. Or bring some extra kit and you can chuck that on the kids and they can have a little picture with it and all that sort of stuff. Like there's loads you can do with it, right? And I genuinely believe that if Baffer put a call out for that, they would get a huge response for it. People would do it.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I think would be more impactful. Well, Liz is there. Hi, Liz. Well, the other thing, or not more impactful, but I would rate. Yeah, I would. I would rate it over what we just described. Is just putting a full or a half-page ad in that program. So letting people know that British American football exists and not. And think about the target market you're speaking to there. They're fans of the game, right? So not to recruit players or coaches, but you can go and support American football year round in the UK because we've got a university league, we've got a senior league, we've got flag football. There's kids, and no matter where you live in the UK, you can continue to support a club. And I genuinely believe that you will get people.
Yeah, I agree.
Responding to that and looking to to get involved with a local organisation. That's the sort of thing that I think could be more impactful than than people that just happen to walk past that particular stall on the day.
I might be taking a bit of a punt here, but if the NFL International or NFL UK want to give us 20 free tickets, we'll do it. If you said to a couple of guys, look, for 2 hours, I want you to hand flies out, just chat to people, find out where they're from. Yeah. But you get into the game for free.
Yeah, we're constantly developing our relationship. It's growing all the time in the NFL UK.
I am jesting, but
that I would like to do something a bit more prominent on the game days. Because we started doing the media stuff with them, which is really cool, like going to the training sessions and all of that. But yeah, I want to start letting that. We need to let that audience know that British American football exists.
Yeah,
and they can get involved and follow it, and go to games, and and if they want, and they want to do more than being a supporter, then they can do that as well. Like there's too many people out there, and everyone watching this will know. You tell people that you play American football in the UK, and they're like, "What? The one with the pads?" And they've got that here, and they got teams, and you're like, "Yeah, they got."
Mate,
They've got loads of teams and thousands of people play it.
As we've already discussed in this show, I've got 6 or 7 teams within 30 minutes of me.
Yeah.
And when I first got into American football in this country, like as a player, I only have ever heard of one of them. There was that many teams close to me, and I never even heard of the Crew Railroaders, and I live 10 minutes away. Like, it shows you what's wrong. Like, and I'm an American football fan. Like, I like American sports and I like American football, and I watched it, but I've never heard of the Crew Railroaders. And had I looked at them? No. But if there was something there, as soon as I saw them, as soon as I saw the logo on the guy's cupboard, I was like, "What's that?" And he told me, and I was down there the next week. I was like, "Bloody hell, I can go and play American football in Crew. I'm going." Like,
Yeah.
For me sins. There is another important question. Is that a wave or is that a clap?
That's a wave.
Because Rich
there's a couple of other Ian and Chris have both put comments up.
Yeah. We as a community can do more to present a better image of the sport. First impression for followers of the game are crucial, not always positive. We are an amateur fun hobby sport, and more people need to remember that.
Well, we are at a certain level. I think that, and this is something I want to talk to Pete about tomorrow, is I think at the upper echelons of the game, and I'll use that phrase loosely, really, but when you look at the cream of the Premier South and Premier North,
not Crew Railroaders then.
It's more than a hobby, a fun, and a sport and an amateur thing. Like, these guys are a lot of them are aspirational to go and play semi-professionally and professionally in Europe. So. But you're right. It's like, I agree with Ian. It is mostly, like, most clubs out there in the UK are, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's a amateur hobby fun thing.
Well, look, I can hand on heart say I play this sport for fun. The teams I've played for. I've lost way more games than I've ever won of American football.
Have you? That's pathetic.
But I've won more as a coach than I have as a player.
Oh my god, that's even worse. You shouldn't be on this podcast.
But for me though, I was playing it for the fun. Like, I got into the sport when I was 27 years old. Like, I wasn't I was spring chicken.
Yeah.
So for me, I played it for fun, and I loved it, and I still love the sport, and that's why I do this now, is because of me coming across British American football at the age of 27. Chris has popped up again. He said, not convinced when Deshaun Watson held a clinic in Leicester, 100% of the Texan fans who came to see him left before our game that followed.
They got underway. Yeah. I'm not saying, Chris, that we can absolutely convert everyone, but I do think we can. I do think that you can convert some of those people to American football.
If you can fill Wembley Stadium with 80,000 fans and get 500 to 1,000 down to their local team in some capacity, player, doesn't have to be a player, but just in some facility, even just as a supporter, like, that's brilliant. Yeah. Like, do you know?
But yeah, Chris raises a good point. He says there, like, I think you're going to put it up. No, not that one. NFL fans in this country never seem bothered with Britball, and I think that's right. And we're not saying that because you like one, you're definitely going to like the other. Although we do know, being involved in clubs, that a lot of people get involved in UK American football because of the NFL. Like, they see it, they want to play it, they want to get involved and try it out. They played Madden. And they turn up expecting, a 100-page playbook and start telling their offensive coordinator to run a certain play that they're sort of Miami Dolphins run. but that's where the interest starts.
Just quickly, Rich is watching because he's creating a team, so this will be useful. Good. Liz says that will change soon. I'm not sure what point she was on about. I think it's more to do with the I'm not sure. It came in when we're talking about the NFL.
Liz, let us know what you mean by that comment. She'll probably come back.
She's good, yeah.
She watches.
Well, let's kind of move on a little bit now. So kind of get away from Baffa. I think we all agree Baffa could do a little bit more. And well, there's certainly avenues for them to go down, and they may well do that. I mean, this year's been a weird year.
Yeah, I mean, I got the other thing. Like, I do think, yes, I'm probably losing my voice now, aren't I? But I do think, yeah, that Baffa can do some stuff, but the heavy lifting has got to come from the clubs.
Yeah,
like the bulk of the work. Like if a club's asking Baffa to do stuff because they want Baffa to do everything, and they just sit there and the recipient of the marketing efforts. They've got the wrong idea, and like Baffa aren't there to dish out free handouts and free programs and all that sort of stuff to people, to clubs and their members. So there's got to be an element of people getting off their ass and doing stuff themselves. But what Baffa hopefully can provide is, like, Baffa could, in my opinion, go out to an agency, a marketing agency or something, get some top tips, get a package together and say, look, we think if you use this, you'll be more successful. It's about enablement, as well as, it would be great if they did an initiative like getting to American football again. I think that's a bit of a long shot, but what I think this happens too often with Baffa. They're used as a scapegoat for people's lack of effort within their own clubs.
Liz has popped back up and said people are working diligently on very positive outcomes to recruit and grow American football in the UK. That's great to know. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, we just posted an announcement today. I can't remember the guy's name, but the NFL UK they messaged me. We need to get a stream with him on.
I'm gonna speak to Dave and say, can we bring him in? Can we do an interview with him? But so they've got a guy who's quite a senior role within the organisation now. His role is about the growth of the sport in Europe, and obviously including the UK. That's crucial that role now exists.
He used to be the head of World Rugby?
Yeah, he's CEO or something. Yeah,
TV that is. Let's be fair. He's a heavy hitter, and it's going to be quite I'd love to get him on here, and just say it would be nice to get him on when he first starts. Sort of say, what do you see as your road ahead, and then maybe a year later checking in with him as well. But we'll see. I think on the Baffa note, it kind of goes back to what we said at the start as well. Baffa can do so much, but as a club, if you're not pulling your weight, if you're not running your club right, then Baffa may as well not be doing it.
That's the question, right? When people are saying this stuff, and it sort of this accentuates my point I just made. When people are saying, "Oh, Baffa need to get involved," I want to know what out of their, let's say, a squad of 60. Is that a fair number to say a squad size?
Let's say
50. Yeah. Right, out of your squad of 50, how many of those individuals do you expect to have come through the pipeline that Baffa provide you? And what's a reasonable number? So what are they on the hook for in your mind? And let's say those people say it's, I don't know, 10%, so 5 people. Well, then you've got to do 90% of the work. you got to try and find those other 45 individuals.
I think
so I don't think they, and if someone's saying, oh, well, if I've got 50 people, Baffa should be giving me 40 of them through their efforts, you've got the wrong idea of how that NGB should work. That's the bit that we need to sort of get people to start to understand, is the heavy lifting has to come from the club.
Yeah, and then that's what we're going to get into now. Just to put Liz has come back up, and it appears like the NFL are not doing enough to grow the game.
Liz, and that goes back to my point about they used to cover British American football on their, on their coverage, and now they don't. You could argue, obviously, the NFL Academy.
Yeah,
that's on British soil. That's been great, and absolutely it has been. But what is that doing to promote British American football?
Yeah,
I know it will help British American football to an extent with a bit of a pipeline of talent, but I don't see it as it's something that benefits the NFL more than benefits the teams that are in BAFA.
So I think that's a great time to segue into what clubs are doing. So we'll part BAFA to the side now. I asked on the British American Forum football community, and Ollie Maskell popped up. So this is BAFA recruiting now.
Yeah, he's the recruiting director.
And he said he thinks it's really important to set expectations. What they try to do at BAFA with recruitment is to be honest, and tell them what to expect. Yes, the NFL stuff they do is glamorous, but ultimately most weekends is standing on the rain, one man and his dog watching. So I think what he's saying is you've kind of got to set their expectations. Of what to expect. Now, on that note, like for me, if I'm trying to recruit people, one of the things I personally be doing, and this is what works for me, is getting them to a game. Like, so for me, I loved American football, but I didn't understand it. I didn't know, and I didn't really know it. When I say I didn't understand it, as I didn't understand it to the level I know now, and I didn't know it evolved so kind of massively in this country. And then I went to watch a game the Sunday after I'd kind of heard about it in Crewe. And when I was there, I was like, I've got to do this. Like for me, I went to this game and I was like, to see the camaraderie, the team. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, and so at the time I was playing soccer, I was playing football. And I was like, I've got to stop doing that because I want to do this. So I think.
What position were you?
Which sport?
In soccer.
Striker.
Were you?
Yeah, number 9. Always number 9. Number 1 on the American football field. So we had that conversation though. But yeah, so I was playing soccer at the time, and I went, and it was in July, so the kind of mid-season for BAFA, but my season had finished. So I went and watched this game, and I was like, my God, this is amazing. Like all the do you know what, like all the cheering, all the the camaraderie, and I was like, I have to be part of this. Like I just have to do it. And then the next week I went training and was made to feel really welcome. So I think it's important to get people to the games as well. Like I think it shows, because even when I went to watch Crewe Railroad as the bottom of Division 2, there was like 30 fans there. Oh, well, not 30 fans, but 30 people watching. Like it was more than a football match on a Sunday. And they had a guy.
Oh, I thought you were saying that as a low number.
No. Yeah. Well, do you know what? For me, like I was like, yeah, we've got a fair few fans there. I know we've had this conversation before. I can only talk British American football from the kind of the lower divisions, as we've discussed. You talk from the high divisions, I talk from the lower divisions. But for me, getting
that's why it's good to be both on it.
Yeah, and getting to the game and watching it, I thought, I've got to do this. And I never looked back since then. Just quickly, Tony's popped up. I disagree. NFL are only interested in the profits. Liz has put spot. I think that's spot on, but I don't know to what point. Adam, think he played left back at home.
How he's saying you?
Mate, it's definitely him. Right. Ask, how do people find my club? What do they see when they find it, and what are they looking from us? Then work hard.
What they're looking from us is actually the basis of the thing I want to focus on when I talk about marketing. That's the most important thing for your club to know, identify, and leverage. If you don't know that, then you've got no strategy, and you're just tactically trying to bring people in. Yeah.
So I think, I don't actually agree with Chris's comment here. I don't know what you think. I know it's unlikely, but aligning the season with the NFL season would work wonders. I disagree, but I don't know. You may come from a different.
I'd like to know why. I don't know. Like it's funny, right? So I think that the way that we British players or British people think about American football is that we've tried to emulate the States, right? So I always cringe when I hear, oh, football is for Sundays. You play football on a Sunday. Sunday, it's like a sacred day that you play it. Well, no, it's not, right? And because in the States they play Friday, high school football throughout the week, and then and then college NCAA's on Saturday. So so why we've adopted that mindset, I never understand, right? So I don't like. the way that it sort of works in the States is like everyone plays so they can all go and watch the NFL on a Sunday, right? Like, you know, if you're not watching the NFL, if you're not in the NFL, you're watching it. And so I don't know why from a fan, like if
that is Chris's,
I would see it as a deterrent. If people were playing American football the same time as the NFL's on, then aren't they more likely to not want that? You'll have people that want to be a fan of the NFL that won't play it in Britball because they don't get to watch their games. They can't follow their team in the same way.
So
having said that, there is an overlap in the seasons.
So Chris has popped up and said, football is the front of people's mind, more opportunity for socials after the game, watching the pro game. Do you know what? I think university, it probably works well because they've got more of a social culture. I'm not sure with adult teams, you know, people have got wives and families and girlfriends to get back to. They don't, you know. And
I think that's a club by club thing. You know, yeah. I've played at times for clubs where very social, you know, like before the game, everyone goes and eats or you have a big night out. Like we had a big night out at the nights where we dressed up as what was it? A hen do. So we dressed up as a head, like with all like pink stuff and like dick straws and stuff, and it was fucking hilarious. Eh?
Didn't you start fighting in this?
Yeah, we had a fight. Yeah. It was like the best bonding experience ever. Not that I'm advocating for fighting, but it worked. But yeah, we were in a nightclub and we were smashed and we like, let's run a play. So we're in the middle of the dance floor and we set up like as linemen. And then fucking ran a play and obviously knock people over. We were dickheads. It was hilarious, but but yeah, like that, you know, fast forward 3 years from the club, and they would the players would never have done that. Like it just, you know, and so the culture is a moment in time thing, I think, and it's driven by those people. You can't. A coach or someone running a club can't say, okay, everyone, let's go out and be happy. Like it's just got to be something that naturally happens, but people have got to be willing to do it, you know.
So Tony says, years ago, Scotland had the Capital Bowl promoted privately by a businessman who played in front of thousands. There'd be 8,500. We need to get promotion in newspapers, etc. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it kind of comes twofold as well. You know, I think. You know, that kind of, you know, that is that on the clubs or is that on Bath? I think that's probably on a bit of both again, if you've got a big game coming up. Lots of the ways teams grow socially that will entice more interest. So, yeah, I want to I've got a few points I want to kind of discuss. I want to tell you what we did. But I want you now, Steve, to tell me why. We've had this conversation before, and we've had it live on Gridiron Hub live, where we were discussing what's more important, social media or website. And I think you were the only one who would say, well, a website's more important than your social media. So I want you to tell me and try and convince me why I should be spending more time getting a better website and less time doing social media posts.
Okay. So
one second.
I can answer that quote.
So, Shaw123 on Twitch, as it says nowadays, social media is king. You disagree to a certain extent, would you?
Yeah. It's important, but is it? So okay. And I can answer it very quickly, but then elaborate, right? So let's say you build up a huge following on a social media platform, and then all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, then one day that goes out of favor. And like MySpace, they just go away to the next thing. And I say MySpace is the most common example, or the most obvious example, but there have been other social media platforms that have come out. There was what was the one before TikTok that was focused on short form video? Vine. There were people that spent, you know, hours and hours creating profiles for that, and Vine actually disappeared. MySpace is still there. For those people that created a MySpace profile, you can still go back to your old profile and see it, right?
Yeah, I'm going on it right now.
But so social media is it is something you don't control, and it's a fad thing, right? So what's cool one year may not be as cool the next, and you're constantly trying to garner attention. A website you've got control over. It's yours, right? You own the website, you own the structure of it, and what you should be doing is using social media, absolutely using social media, but you should be using social media to drive traffic to your website. Now, not every post, because that's ridiculous. No one would ever use it. There's quite a famous evangelist of social media or marketing out there, and I followed him for a number of years now. A guy called Gary V, and he put out a book that's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. He's done a few books, but this one, it always sticks with me as a concept. And what he means by jab, 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 right hook is...
You did jab, 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 left hook.
I did, yeah. But it looks on the screen that it's right, so that's why I did it reverse.
Right.
But cheers for pointing that out. So... And what it means by jab, 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 right hook is your jabs are content that's useful to people, content that people can absorb and be like, oh, that's helpful, I didn't know that, or that's interesting, that's entertaining, that's made me laugh, that's made me cry, that's made me think pensive about an issue. Like, you bring value through your jabs. Jab, 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 right? And so your jabs can be of different sizes. You could have something that goes nuts for 12,000 views. You could have something that only 3,000 people get to see, but they're you giving something back, you sharing something with your followership. And then the right hook is you then going for it depends on what you're doing, but like to sell. When you're saying to, and that doesn't necessarily mean a product, but it's when you're saying, I want something from you, so what can you do for me? So if you put that into the context of American football, running a club, you should be putting out content that's absolutely informative and helps with like the community. But you should also try and do like educational pieces, things that people are going to engage with, things that people take from and take away with them. And there's nothing stopping any one of you out there deciding to put a web series together on how to run a training session, what the best drills are for running backs, how to stretch, how to eat properly. There's all this knowledge out there, and I mean, all of those things are coach/player related. But like the stuff I'm talking about now, I could put into a web series for Gridiron Hub, like how to run social media, right? There's nothing stopping anyone doing that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like your bread and butter. This content can just be that, you're an American football team, but you happen to offer a really, really good advice on injury treatment, right? And people now know who don't even know American football, but people are advised to come to your social media channels and your website because you offer some such good free advice on how to recover from injuries, right? And you're working with and I'm using that as an example. It doesn't have to be, I'm not telling everyone to go away and do this, right? But you pick what it is that you want to sort of give to people, give to audiences. And then when you do ask for any type of involvement, paid members, coaches getting involved, fans, everything, you're more likely, that right hook, you're more likely to get a favorable response to it. So that's and I know I've sort of gone slightly off from the question here because it was about why is the website so important. The website's so important because you've got control over it, and it's the only constant. Everything else comes and goes. The website stays, and the website is what you've got control over. So that's why it should be the core of your strategy. Everything else is a peripheral that drives into it.
Yeah, and in your opinion, is having a good-looking website something a must? So, for example, let's take the Highland Wildcats, who we kind of probably both agree is one of the best websites.
Yeah, we love the Wildcats, man, don't we? Like, we always talk about it.
If you've got the Wildcats website, you go on that and you think, bloody hell, these are professional. And then you go on to somebody else who's got a website made by Wix, and there's different colour backgrounds for every section of it. Like, is
the
that
link
important?
breaks? I've seen that, the link breaks. Sorry, is that what important?
Is that important?
It's a shop window.
Yeah.
It's a shop window. If you go back to everything we talked about at the beginning of this session, how well your clubs run, what they can expect from you as a member, all of that stuff. Again, you you create this aspiration from the audience, right? So I always say, and you would have heard me say this, like as a player, I want my club to have pictures of me when I'm playing, game reports, a profile of me on the website, and stats. Those four things. Sorry?
You don't want much then.
Well, but I don't think I do want much, you know, and so if a club don't offer that, I think, well, what are you doing? You know, but so that's for me as a player. However, if you had a website that had that stuff and you had really cool profiles and the stats and write-ups and, you know, it was all there, really easy to look at, people would go on it and think, oh, I want to go and play, you know, I want to play for a club like that. I wouldn't mind playing for them. You know, like there's this, I suppose you're tapping into their ego a little bit there, and it works. So I think a website is an indicator to people of how well run a club is. Unfortunately, you know, you may think, well, you know, you may give me an example in the comments of this club is run amazingly, but their website's trash. Fine, there will be exceptions to it, but we're talking about someone that doesn't know the sport, doesn't know who people are, and they use that as their shop window and make their decision within a very short period of time. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. So I'm keen, I know somebody had mentioned this in one of the comments on the post I put, and I'm keen your thoughts on it. So obviously you've run Gridiron Hub now for what, 3 years, is it? Yeah. So you've obviously got, you know, you've built over 5,000 following, which is great.
Wow. Around Gridiron Memes before that, and we got 12.
There's reasons for that.
I think they're interesting stories, both of them.
Yeah. But I want your opinion now on paid sponsorship on social media. So, do you? I mean, I'm talking to you like as a marketer now. Is this something you do you do on Gridiron Hub? Is it something you tried and you didn't like it? I mean, I've done it in the past for my own personal.
It depends on so there are a ridiculous amount of terms out there for loads for things that you can do on. You're talking specifically about social media there, right? Yeah. Define for me what a paid sponsorship is, and then I'll tell you whether we've done it.
You can pay Facebook £10.
That's not. Well, so there's two ways to do that. So that's probably a boosted post, is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're right, so basically you're paying Facebook or Twitter or whoever to show your posts to the kind of the people you want to send it to, the graphic you want it to go to.
Yeah.
Well, is that good? Did you not like that?
It depends. So,
sorry, you can hear
it depends on the content. Sorry.
Can you hear
what was that? Guinea pig or something?
The guinea pig is going mental.
So going back to my whole jab right hook thing. Yeah. Don't boost your jabs, boost your right hooks. So when you want something from the audience, when you want something, so if it's a recruitment type thing, there's an action that you get something from, boost that. So yeah, I do buy into it. It needs to be set up correctly. And what I mean by correctly, boosted posts have really helped our target recruitment. Yeah. Cheers, Chris. So what actually, let me take it a step back. I quite often, running Gridiron Hub, will get sent, we get it a lot on Instagram at the moment, but we also get sent it on Facebook. Recruitment poster for players. Like, we're looking for players, and they're like, "Can you post this?" And we oblige, but I always think, what good is it? What good? Yeah, like our audience is, mostly UK wide, but we do have an international audience as well. Yeah, like there will be some people that may look at this, but it's too much of a long shot. I can understand it for coaching roles. Coaching's slightly different, but for players, you're better off posting. Absolutely, post it, but boost it, and then make sure that your demographics set correctly, so that you're hitting males, which I assume you're attracting now. I'm just saying that these are some of the options you can do. But males, aged 18 to 35, 32, whatever you want to do, living within a certain catchment area of where you are that have certain interests. So they don't necessarily have to like American football. You could say rugby, cricket, MMA, whatever, you know. And you basically, you know, you then have to pay like a daily amount and choose how long you boost it for. And Facebook will tell you how many people it thinks it's going to expose it to, and then you can track the stats. It's all really nicely done. I think that is a much better way of going about it, as Chris has said, boosting a post. But if you just boosted the post generically, like if I now went on our Facebook and I clicked on the top post and clicked boost, Facebook would define that for me and decide who it sends it to.
On my video, no credit card details, so I've been tempted to just click that boost button.
Yeah, of course, yeah, you've got it's on there, isn't it? So yeah, so it's I think if used correctly, then yeah, it works well. But you then get into the whole sponsored post thing. So a boost is in effect is a sponsored post, but it's like a lazy man's one, right? If you go into the business portal of Facebook, the boosting of posts or the promotion of content is unbelievable. Like you can target and retarget people. So for example, and you will have seen this yourselves as consumers online, you may have gone on Amazon and looked at, I don't know, a lawnmower, right? And then you'll find that you go on another website and the same lawnmower that you've looked at is coming back in the adverts. That's called retargeting. And you can do retargeting in Facebook. So people that are shown this certain types of activity. So this is an advanced boost, if you like, right? Certain types of activity at certain times of the day. If they do them, like click on your page or something, you can then retarget them and retarget them with a different proposition. Whereas like the first one was like, I don't know, we've got a training session coming up, for example. The next one could be something a bit more personalized and saying like what they can expect from that, you know, like, so you can actually put like a what do they call it? Like a nurture track for people that work their way through, hopefully to closing, which is attendance. So there's loads of stuff you can do, and obviously that stuff is a bit more advanced, right? And you know you won't start there, but that's what the boost post leads to, right?
Yeah.
There are people out there, but then the other thing is the power of the network, right? So I'll always, and you'll see me say this in our Microsoft Teams, I'll say, guys, I'm about to post this. Can you guys like and share it? Or share it. Now, I don't often say that, but I will say it to some of our guys when there's a post that we've got that we just want people to see. Because what will happen is, so say for instance, we've currently got roughly 5,000 followers on our Facebook channel. Well, if you put a post out there, a very, very small percentage will see that post, like 3% of the people will see that in their feed, unless they've got notifications on that they see every post that you do, which is very rare. Like you hardly got anyone that will do that. Now, those 3% define the success of that post. If they stop on it, even if they just stop for time on it, viewing it, if they interact with it, like click on the post because there's an image and they want to see it bigger, if they like it, share it, comment on it, tag someone in it, it then starts to increase. So that 3% grows to 4, 5, and that's it's called the algorithm. It's called an algorithm, and we don't know the Facebook algorithm, but I can tell you from experience, it's we like running Gridiron memes as well for like, you know, the past 7 years. We've noticed the algorithm constantly gets stingier and throttling things all the time, right? Like I can remember when we used to post stuff on, because you can see, you'll know this, you can see on Facebook, you can see the number of people that have seen it. That's not publicly available.
No.
Very, very rarely do we get content. So we've got 5,000 people that are fans of our site. very rarely do we get 5,000 people viewing a piece of content.
Yeah, no, it's usually around 800, isn't it? You know,
It depends. So, and then also the type of content makes a difference too. So, for instance, live streams at the moment are like the best thing ever for engagement. Everyone that follows Gridiron Hub, when a live stream goes live, they will all get a notification unless they've got notifications turned off. It will be prominent. Anyone that goes onto the page, it will post about it. Live streams are, you know, that it will show like where a normal post maybe is 3% of your following. It will send it to 100% a notification, but then maybe 50% will see it next time they go on Facebook and scroll through. So it's massive. And that's why, you know, we're doing quite well with live streaming at the moment. There will come a day where they start to throttle it, and it'll be more difficult to get people to watch content and watch it back. That's what it was like with posts when we first started, right? So like, we'd post something and just everyone would see it and everyone would jump on it and react to it and everything. And it got harder and harder to create content.
So Chris has popped up and said that boosted posts have a return for him. It's worth spending 50 quid on boosted recruitment posts if I get a 200% return through the subs of a new player.
Yeah. So, and I think the difficult thing there, Chris, is obviously being able to be able to quantify that, right? What is your conversion rate from this? How do you know, like, you know, you need to be able to measure, did this thing here lead to this individual coming down and therefore then playing? Not difficult to find out, but not something that Facebook will be able to tell you, right? So and just going back to the algorithm thing, so the reason I say to some of the guys to the guys that help run Gridiron Hub on a post, can you guys like and share this? Is that as soon as they like it, it goes to their, it puts us up in the algorithm, and it then goes to their audience and it expands. Now it depends on the type of post. So we posted, and I might get it up, but I was looking at the stats on my phone earlier. We posted an article this week that probably is the most viewed article that we've ever done on Gridiron Hub. And this is the one about what Jack Welding's family said about the aftermath of his death. I don't want to get into that on this Facebook, but that is an external link, right? So that is the lowest ranking thing you can do on Facebook, because what you're saying to people is leave Facebook, go over to Gridiron Hub or go over to this. So that's a right hook, right? You're saying, I want you to leave this platform and go over to this website that I've created. Facebook don't like it, and neither do any of the other channels. So it's like the hardest thing to get exposure with. And I'll show you the stats. I'll get them up in a second, actually, Will, because we'll show you a linked post like that. We call it a linked post versus a standard post. And there's an example of like the post directly after it, which I think was an image post. I think I can't remember exactly what it was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a link post, and it has fewer likes
for tomorrow.
Sorry,
I think it was your buffer advertisement for tomorrow.
It may be. It has fewer likes, fewer shares, fewer comments by some way, and it's had more people looking at it. Like so it, you know, that's something else to think about from a social media perspective. Is like, it's not always just that. Can I see people getting quite lazy with stuff? People will put something up on YouTube and then share that link on Facebook. It's probably going to go nowhere. You know, you need to take that content, maybe split it down into smaller videos, or post the entire video on Facebook. Then Facebook are more favorable with the algorithm. So yeah, that's like. And I know I'm getting well into sort of social media stuff here, but there's so much to it that people don't realize. And the bottom line is boosted posts do work, but then you also, the other side of it, and as Chris has mentioned, you need a budget. He said he's put 50 quid. I would say a good budget to put together is like £2 a day. £2 a day, have it run for 10 days, 20 quid on something. And it has to be a right hook. Don't put together like a really cool stretching video or stretching infographic and boost that. Like, There's no returns or diminishing returns on it. So make sure it's your right hooks that you're doing that, but make sure that everything you post isn't a right hook. It has to be
jab,
like
jab, jab, jab.
4 or 5 to 1. In that sort of ratio.
I mean, there's always. It's quite apt, really, that this guy.
We got some spam on Twitch. Yeah, that's when you know you're doing well.
You can always. I'm not sure that'd work, to be honest.
So no, that doesn't work. So this is another thing.
Because it doesn't.
But and I see this a lot, and some people have made the mistake of this in Britball. You can go out there and a link like that, or an organization, company like that, they've got like social media farms. So there's places, most of them are based in like India or Western or Eastern Asia, sometimes in Eastern Europe as well. And they've got literally thousands of phones set up with people operating them, logged into different accounts on Facebook. Some of them are controlled by a central computer, some are manually controlled, but they're all physically there. And what you do is you pay them to then go onto your Facebook page and like it from all these different fake profiles. So they're profiles online, so you get a like, but you get no engagement behind it. So what happens is you'll see people with 10, 15, 20,000 follows, but then if you look at their posts, they're getting 5 likes, 6 likes, 10 likes, and what they've done there is they've used one of these farms, these services to boost their numbers. But what Facebook does is penalizes it. So Facebook then throttles everything, and no one gets to see it because they don't want that activity happening.
On that note, you've mentioned this, and we've talked about this before, about the kind of non-generic growth of Facebook pages through using friends and family who have no interest in kind of what to offer.
Yeah.
So, do you want to just?
That's just as bad. That's just as bad. So, yeah. So let's say, let's take a football example. Like, take it away from football. Let's say I started up a dog walking business. Then I said to all my mates, "Oh, can you like this? Can you share my page?" Then to my family, "Can you like this? And then to my work colleagues, "Can you like this? Can you share my page?" And I end up with 300 people liking my page, right? But then when I posted to ask people if they wanted a dog walker, or like that would be my right hook. But let's say I was posting some jabs with it as well. You're not going to get the engagement. People won't. Like, you're not marketing to your target audience. So you're marketing to your mate. Yeah. And so you won't see any growth. You'll probably see first couple of posts, a bit of engagement. Your mum will be good for a like every single time and a share every day. But that's about it. And the algorithm picks up on that. And it picks up on the fact that there's repetition from the same people on the same accounts on the post all the time. And it, again, throttles you down. So it has to be organic development. It has to grow organically. You can't. So apart from paying for a boosted post, you can't force it through external third-party means, or try to use the wrong demographic. Always make sure that you're trying to build it and message and grow through anything that's sort of true to you and your brand. But yeah, that's another good point, Will.
Yeah, no, I just know we talked about it. So moving on, I don't want this to go on all night, but it could do. It may be.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
No, your fault, mate. It's really interesting stuff. It's just, we're an hour and 21 in, and I don't feel like we've discussed much, but we have. We've discussed loads.
I'm just trying to find the content.
So I'll tell you what we did, right? So this is what we did at the Crew Railroad. We were the lowest team in Division 2. We'd gone the season before 2-8. Yeah. So we were pretty much no. So sorry, I've just been put off.
Have you seen that? Yeah, I just saw that. No, we don't.
But I don't.
You want me to put it on? Is that what he's asking?
Something happened funny though. You have to tell me. No. So what we did was, instead of asking the potential new players to come to us, we went to them. So what we did is we did local training sessions in and around the villages and towns around Crewe. So there was probably 6 towns. When you won't have heard of them: Winsford, Northwich, Middlewich, Crewe itself, a couple more that way. So we didn't approach on anyone else's territory, but instead of saying, "Well, come to our training ground on Sunday and try out," we said, "Come to your local field." And we got an average of something like 15 people a session. Because they didn't have to, and on our posters. So we plastered our posters everywhere. We did it on social media, but we'd also we printed them off and put them in, notice boards and that sort of stuff. And we got a really good turnout. And I found, because we were going to we were kind of taking the river to the horse. I don't know the saying. You know what I'm saying? We were taking the session to them. People would turn up at the local playing field and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
So and then what we did on the back of that, and this is where it became really successful. So October, November, every weekend we had a session in a different town or village around us. By November the 31st, we had 35, 40 players who wanted to play American football. So do you know what we did? From the whole of December, so like the first 3 weeks of December, we put on rookie sessions at our training base, so that when they joined the players in January, they were coming in with a little bit more knowledge than they'd had previously. So we weren't chucking them in the deep end and saying, right, you're a rookie, go and train with a vet. We're saying, here's 3-4 sessions for you to learn tackling against other rookies, to learn this, to learn that. And then at least when you go up against the vet, you don't feel like you know nothing. And for us, that was extremely successful. It wasn't my idea, it was one of my friend's ideas. Very clever guy. Like, that's not my idea. I'm not going to sit here but for us, that was very successful. So again, we had local sessions to get them interested, and then once they were interested, then we brought them in, but just the rookies. And then after a month of doing just rookie sessions, then we integrated them with the seniors, and the following season was the best season the Crewe Railroaders have ever had. And was that a coincidence? I believe not. We brought in some really good players.
It's a really clever idea.
And I think that's an idea for other clubs to do. Like, all we do is we turn up at a park, 7 footballs, 7 pairs of pads, 7 helmets, whatever. Try an helmet on, lads. Here's what it feels like. You know what I mean? It's heavy, isn't it? Bloody hell, I didn't even keep it that heavy. Type thing, right? Take your helmet off, catch a ball, do a run. We just did all like the kind of the fun side of football, and people just lapped it up. And what the other thing we did, and I don't know what your opinion of this is we gave all the players like business cards.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had mentioned this on the Facebook profile. If we looked at somebody and thought, you know what, he looks like he'd be a good lad, good player, we go up to them and give him a business card. And you know what? 90% of them had been it.
Tell me what was on the business card first.
It was just like the Crewe Railroaders details. We want you, training details. So there's a picture of the Crewe player. And it had all the details on where we trained, and so on the Facebook page that we were discussing this on, one of the players said that at university, when they go to the freshers fair, he'll just walk up to people and go, "You're perfect," and they'll go, "What?" Yeah. And he'll go, "You're perfect for American football," and then he's in. He's kind of broken that barrier down. They'd have that conversation about American football, and then they potentially turn up to sessions, and that worked for them. And I've got to be honest, like, we had lads go into the gyms and all sorts. I'm like, if you see a lad at the gym who looks like he wants to play, it'd be a bit of a unit. Give him a card. If he bins it, he bins it. But at least he knows.
Yeah.
That we're there.
Well, I know. The Knights, that was their big strategy for a long time, was going up to Dorman, going up to people in gyms, and putting posters up in gyms as well.
Yeah.
Not like your commercial gyms, but like your spit and sawdust ones, like your powerlifting gyms.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of the gyms around here were a bit funny about it. I don't know why, but
I think it's. I don't think it's sort of. I don't know that it's like. I think it's quite frowned upon now, but it was all right back then.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned some really good things there, and unis have got that golden goose egg with the freshest fare. You can walk up to people and start talking to them, and they will respond. And but I also, one of the things I think clubs should do, and I must admit, I haven't been at a club that do enough of it, is community involvement. So get involved with your local community. Like find a group, a church group, or whatever, like a group of people that run fates locally or things. Like they get involved with things that like, I don't know, they'll run like the half marathon thing locally or whatever it is. Get involved with them and just offer yourself to help. So you're not trying to take over and say, oh, let me make decisions. You're saying, look, when you need a pair of hands, I'll get you 10. And we'll all turn up and we'll help do anything. We'll help unload stuff, load stuff, we'll carry stuff. We'll do whatever you need to do. That is invaluable. But it doesn't happen enough, and that's the sort of stuff I think I'd like to see more clubs do more of, is like get actually involved in their local communities.
What we did was we did two things kind of similar to what you said. The first one was there was a local kind of charity welly throwing competition. So we were like, right, lads, get your kit on. We sent a few lads down, with full kit, throwing a welly. And it didn't matter whether they won or lost because there was a rugby team there as well. But what it was about getting us, within the community. And we raised a bit of money for charity. It was a bit of fun. And the other thing we did, and we never actually got round to this, and I think this is about the time I left, we talked about, do you know, like village fairs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like they've all got the demonstration squares, I don't know what you call them, and we were like, why don't we just do a few?
Yeah. We did that. We did that at the Farnborough Air Show. Farnham Nights, and there was this like huge area, and there was loads of people watching. But that's what I mean, like those sort of local events. Get involved in them, have a presence at them, send people walking around with kit, handing out those cards or flyers or whatever. Like there's so much you can do that I think teams don't do. But can I just show these stats?
Go for it, I found them. I've got a question for you, and you'll love it.
Will I? Well, hold on. Let me just get
as you keep saying to me, I'm a bit of a negative person, so
bet you're extremely negative. Yeah. Right, so let me just put this full screen. I don't know how clear this is, guys, but I'm going to talk through it. So this is the post. So most of these posts here, so we're looking at some posts from Gridiron Hub, published posts. And what you can see here is these are different posts that have actually got a link on them, and you can just see the number of people that they reach. Bearing in mind that we've got 5,000 people on that like our site. Now you get a reach score. So this is the number of people that it reached on it, Facebook or Instagram. You get organic reach, which is stuff you haven't paid for, and then paid reach, which is stuff you have. Engagement is the number of reactions, comments, shares, and clicks on the post. Reactions and likes is obviously a subset of that. Comments, shares, right? So engagement is, I am always going on to our guys talking about, we need to get higher engagement. We need to have engaging content. Now this one here, and the reason I'm picking this one is because it's not a right hook. It's just a jab. It's promoting something. Actually, it's not even a jab. It's a promotional post, so it's sort of right hook, but it doesn't have a link attached to it. It's an image post, and you can see on this it reached 2,000 people with 59 engagements. Now, if I click on this, it will actually break that down even more and explain. So that's the actual post.
Show.
We had, sorry.
It's this show. It's
yes, this show. Yeah. So you can see we had 9 reactions, 3 on the post, 6 on shares. So you can see we had double the reactions on shares that we did actually on the post. 47 people clicked it, 2 people clicked on the photo. There were 45 other clicks. There was no negative feedback. And what negative feedback is when people say, I don't want to see this, or hide everything from, or hide this post. That's what negative is. So that's, so that's a post that, and so to give you like an idea of, we need to hit around 60 on the post engagements to get 2,000 people to see a piece of content. Compare that with the post that is a link. So 6,000 people, But look at the difference between the engagement, 3,352. That's the difference between having a linked post.
Well.
It's so skewed. It's unbelievable. It's almost not worth posting links, but you do need to post them because those are your right hooks. But this is why you need to post stuff that isn't a link, that is helpful, that is just an image, because you only need a smaller amount of engagement, from this column to drive the reach higher. But that's ridiculous. If you base that on the engagement here, we should have reached what, like, I don't know how many times, 10,000 times the number of people, but we didn't. Let me just click on that and show you it. So that was the post, and you can see we've got 290 reactions, 102 on the post, but again, more of them are on people sharing it. Comments, actually we had more on the post than on the shares. You can see we had 2,904 clicks, 810 link clicks. So out of the 5,000 people that looked at it on Facebook, 810 of them went through to the website. Now, that doesn't account for people that have shared that link like on WhatsApp or outside of Facebook, but it gives you an idea. It says there were 294 other clicks. I never know what that means. We did, so this is good because we show some negative feedback. I don't know if it used to actually show what the negative feedback is. It used to actually break down the stats for them and say how many hid all posts, reported as spam or unliked as a result of it. So we've had 2 people that have fallen into one of those 4 categories.
It's probably the St. Helens cards.
What it quite often is, someone who's a friend of someone who likes American football, and it pops up on their live feed, and they're like, I don't like American football, and then they hide it or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of share that, guys, to accentuate my point on the type of content that you've got. Makes a huge difference depending on, obviously the engagement's always important, but just the type of post. So have a think about that when you guys are putting your content together. If you're constantly just posting links, you're swimming against a very, very strong current.
So can I ask you my question now?
No.
So I'm a very negative person, and I look at things differently to the way other people look at things.
You're a nightmare. But yeah, go on.
A real bugbear with a certain phrase which a lot of American football teams use in this country, and it's tryouts. I hate this is what I mean. So I'm prepared for you to go, do you know what, Will? You're being a dick. There's nothing wrong with it.
I never say that. It's just a vernacular thing, right? Like saying field over pitch.
I hate when clubs say, "Oh, we've got tryouts on Sunday."
Why?
Like, for me, because it's kind of going with the American terminology, and tryout suggests you can fail. I've never heard of anyone going to a tryout and really failing. It's more.
So again, this comes in. This whole division difference comes in here. If someone is put off by the word tryout, then they ain't gonna fucking make it. Like, fine, go somewhere else, mate.
I use call it taster session.
What do you want them to call it? Shoe-ins, like
taster sessions.
Taster session. I've seen taster session be used more prominently lately.
I just don't like the word tryouts. Like, and I'm prepared to accept. It might be me being a miserable fuck. I do get that, or a negative fuck. But for me, if I see a team going, "Oh, we've got tryouts on Sunday," I'm thinking, "You fucking tryouts!" Like, for me, it's like you almost think like you're too good for rookies. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my opinion.
You're looking into it too much. I get it. Like, I don't disagree with your logic, but you've
you know what I like there,
it follows, but yeah. I don't know. Like I said, if someone's turned off by that, I mean, maybe you're not as competitive as we need.
Shab's in his category with me. Is it Shab? Shab B123.
Most teams in the UK don't have enough members to really plausibly. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
But he's also said a couple of other stuff, and you haven't put them up yet. But
so with we split the returners and rookies. Very excited for when we can integrate the two groups. Yeah,
I really like that idea. So it's like I often get laughed at when I say this, right? But I I hate training with rookies because I believe that I've got a greater risk of getting injured against them than I do against experienced players, and everyone laughs at me.
Yeah,
But
I'm like that here, but fair enough.
It winds me up because they don't know the game, and I'm not saying because they'll take cheap shots or any most rookies are very green, aren't they? They're very keen and they're like they listen and they're great guys, but they make such weird mistakes that it can actually end up hurting the players around them that are experienced. I've had it several times, and so I don't like playing against rookies. I don't like training against out-and-out rookies. I always say, like, when I'd rather like be like a coach or some sort of mentor in those sessions and just help them rather than go up against them.
And that's why we had separate kind of a rookie month.
But I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so like I say, we had a separate rookie month where it was like, no, we didn't even allow the vets or the seniors to come and watch. We were like, look, just stay away. Let the rookies be rookies. Let them learn football at their own pace in their own time, and then we'll integrate them with you when they're ready. And it worked really well for us. Like I say, it was our best ever season. And he's put, Uniball American Football Recruitment is just finding a big fella and saying, we want you to play the sport.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Walking up to him.
Like,
you'd be perfect, and just because you're an absolute monster.
We had this conversation. So I was with the Chester Legion and the MMU Eagles university team, and both times we were like, why? Because obviously with university, being in first teams is quite a big thing. So we were like, go to the rugby thirds, go to the soccer thirds, like go to the American football first team.
Yeah, I like that.
On your CV, like the rugby guys, like we got so many people to come over from rugby just by going, look, you can come in the first team, because to them, they don't want to be in the third team. And I just think, that's...
Is Shaw the guy that's coming? Is he the guy that's running the Exeter Demons Instagram? Let us know if that's you, because he shared a screenshot of us talking, shared our live stream.
Oh, sweet.
So thanks for that if it is you.
Pretty much any team will gladly allow playing no matter how good they are to join. Well, maybe.
Yeah, that I think that should be the case. There should be a place for everyone at any team. The way our sport is at the moment, and that's it is him. Okay, cool. And that's and I think that's another thing that for me should come into this discussion, but it probably isn't for another time because we'll end up being here all night. But it's not just recruitment; it's onboarding. So what is the process like? What are your expectations of someone when they join your team, and what are your what do you hold yourself accountable for them and the other players? I know that I always have and I always will. If I see a new player at training, I'll always go over to them and introduce myself and just say, good to have you here. Have a quick chat, and that's it. Like, it doesn't matter if they're offense, defense, whatever position. I'll always make sure I speak to them. And what you often find is that people that are new to the sport will actually come back to me, and they're the ones that ask me questions. I'll think, like, what do we do now? And you just have a quick, friendly face for them. And I think there's a lot of people, like when new players turn up, and I've heard players do it. They're like, oh, he's a big bloke. Oh yeah, well, wait until we do Skelly or wait. And you're like, fuck off, mate.
That's why we kept the rookies away from the vets, because we were like, don't be dickheads.
Yeah.
Like, let them learn the sport and let them learn, But I've got visions of you going up with that, hi, Steve Price, third choice linebacker. It'd just be amazing. I spend ages introducing myself, telling them all about. Tell them about when I went 12-0 and played on Sky Sports, and I tell them everything. If you want to find me, I'll be on the bench. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. Anything you need, mate. I'll just be sat over there. Yeah. But I do make I do think about like their experience of joining the team.
So no, absolutely, so I think we're nearly wrapped up. I'm just curious. At the start of the show, you mentioned you'd come across some underhand tactics.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a couple of bits I wanted to talk about, but let's do this bit first. So I can remember, and I can't name teams or names or people. I can't because I can't incriminate anyone or stitch anyone up here. But there was an established American football team in the UK that a number of years ago decided to go into get a women's team. Just like there was a huge spike, wasn't there, of women's American football, and and why have you put bleed blue on our?
Because he's advertising bleed green, so I'm like bleed blue. Anyway,
Why?
Story.
No.
Just tell me the story.
No, you shouldn't have, you idiot. Anyway, right. So, so they were looking for, and they ran a couple of sessions, and they figured out that there was a certain type of female player that they wanted more of, right? And I'm trying to be as politically correct as I can in describing this, right? So they had essentially they had some skill players and they needed some linemen. Do you call them? Yeah, do you call them line women? Is that? I don't even know. They needed some O-line and D-line, right? And so they created a fake profile on an app called Grindr, which is for gay people. So they were looking for butch lesbian women in the local area. So they would start chatting to these women, and then they'd sort of throw into the conversation about sport and American football, and they're trying to, and it genuinely worked for them, and they were able to bring a number of women in through Grindr. So like I said at the beginning, like I don't condone that or anything, but it was just a really funny story that I remember and then the guy telling me about it, and I was like, he said, like, we can never obviously go public with it, but he said it was like a goldmine for us. That's so. Like I say, that's an underhand tactic. No, just like I would say, immoral. They weren't stitching anyone up. They basically catfished. They catfished gay women into playing American football, and I love it.
When I go on a date, come to training on Sunday, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, exactly. So, Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to sort of mention, so as well as I talked about the different types of content, the old jab, right hook and everything, and the actual medium of content is in like video or link or whatever. There's also this principle that I think everyone should be looking at. And I'll explain it in like an analogy. It's probably the best way of doing it. And this is a heavy marketing focus, right? So like, excuse the, I don't know, it might feel like it's a bit heavy and not quite a great fit, but I think there's some really good points to take away from it. So what you want to think about is a person's motivation to do something, and typically, like when we're doing marketing, it's typically motivation to buy, right? But let's say we're just motivation to act, and so the thing that motivates people is that, and this model splits things into desires, right? So what we're looking at when you're thinking of content, when you're looking to put something out, you have to have it linked to a desire, and there are 3 desires. So the first one is a need. The second one is a want, and the third one is a pain. So need, want, pain. And the best way, like, again, I'll use an analogy to describe it because it's sort of easier. So to think about a car. So a need is an urgent desire. So they're all desires, but a need is an urgent one. So in terms of a car, I need to put fuel in my car. That is an urgent desire. Yeah. It's and otherwise described as a need. A want is aspirational. So I'd like a better car would be a want, right? So you've got a car, but you'd like a better one. That's a want. And then the third one, a pain, is a challenge or a problem. So that could be like, my car keeps breaking down, and that creates the desire, right? So need, want, pain. And in terms of recruitment and in terms of all marketing in general, you need to be able to focus on all 3 of them. It's not good enough to just have one thing that you're covered on. And the main reason for that is because people are motivated by different types of desires. So if you're only focusing on one, you're isolating yourself from the other 2, right? So the greatest motivators out of those are needs and wants. Now, oh look, he's talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's different. That's to do with what you focus on in your life. No, this isn't about that. But there's also an element of frequency here. So a need is temporary. So the need for fuel in your car is a temporary need, right? Like it's something that you'll need again and again and again, and it's a short term thing. Once address a satisfaction, they're more mid-term, but that's usually a temporary thing as well, right? Like it's a longer term temporary. So it's like, if you, again, the car analogy, you want a new car, you get the new car, it's great, it smells nice, it's awesome. Eventually you'll hit a point, in the midterm where it sort of, the novelty wears off and it's no longer a new car, and, you're happy with it, but you've satisfied that need for a better car. But that need will come back round again, just not very quickly. That want will come round again. However, if you satisfy a pain, you're more likely to gain loyalty and recommendation. So pains are things that typically are the longest term fixes. So like once you fix a pain or you address a pain, it's addressed in a more permanent fashion. So in terms of thinking of those things in terms, like I say, the car analogy, also think about them in terms of time. So is this a quick thing, a medium-term thing, or a long-term thing? And you want to make sure your marketing content or your content to attract people or do whatever it is you're trying to do covers all three of those things. So in terms of American football, what I always see, and what everyone always goes to is the whole Uncle Sam American, I want you, we need you poster. Yeah. And my reaction to that is, who gives a fuck what you want? I don't care what you want. Scroll, I'll move down to the next post. What you need to do is say, what can they get from you? Yeah. What are you doing to address their needs, their wants, and their pains as an individual player, or whatever it is you're trying to get them to do? And again, you need to think short term, medium term, and long term. So so think about that in terms of a player. What are the long term benefits of you playing for my team? What is it I want you to achieve? Probably we've got aspirations in the next 3 years to go from Div 2 to Div 1. So do some content on that. What's a medium term goal that you can achieve? I suppose the two go-to ones are fitness and camaraderie, as you mentioned. Now you can look at those as either medium or short term. It depends on how you view them, but I would consider those more medium. And then if you're looking at the more immediate stuff, that's probably similar type of content, but the timing of that's important. So it's about, we're running a session, like you said, your sessions, but we're doing locally. We're doing it next week. We're not normally here, but we're going to do it here. And you get a sample, you get a taster of what we're doing. That's a short term thing. You get it done once, and it it doesn't take long to do it. They get exposed to a part of the game. So that's how people need to start thinking about. Well, not they don't need to, but this is a methodology that you can apply to your content, because what we're doing at the moment is we want players, and none of it is about what it is that they get out of it. Well, not none of it, because there is some stuff that does cover it, but think about what they get out of it, but what they continue to get out of it, how long it takes them to get out of it, and it's not just about having one piece of fucking content that covers everything. Split it up, break it down, post at different times, post in different different days of the week, different times of the month, all of that sort of stuff.
So effectively, instead of saying we want you to fill our coffers, what we should be saying is, here's what we can give you in the long term, the short term, and the future. We will help you to achieve this thing. We're going to enable this. Come with us on this journey. That's an extremely good point, and I think if every club in the country went with that philosophy and mindset, I think there'd be a lot more recruitment. I mean, I personally never thought about it like that, but if I ever get involved in recruitment in the future, now that will be the first point I raise. You know, it's not
But yeah,
about.
I and I'm not saying the "we want you" doesn't work. It does, but I cringe every time I see it. Cause I think, come on, like, you know, we're missing the point here. It's like, and because so in my job, I train salespeople in IT, and we're always talking about value for the customer, value for the customer. What are they getting? Tell them what they're getting. Not, oh, here's this product that we've got, and it can do this. It's got flashing lights, and you can pay in 30 days time, and you have to pay like. What the? Who cares? You're not a walking advert. You're not reading a pamphlet. Have a conversation with someone, but focus on how it's going to benefit them. That's what's missing at the moment, I think, in the main.
You know, if somebody wanted to read more into what you've just kind of gone through, is there a terminology for it, a name for it?
Which bit? What the need, want, pain?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. I don't know the name. Like it, I just know about it. I don't know the theory behind it. There must be because everything's got a label on it, right? Let me have a look. Well, you're looking.
I'm just googling it now, but yeah, no. I mean, there's a whole. Shaw's popped back up again. I said, yeah, I think it's still very under the radar what American football do for young people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know, you could appeal. So the young people one's amazing because you could appeal to the young person, but also to the parent. You know, do you want your kid to sleep better, or do you want your kid to be more disciplined, or all that sort of stuff? Like, think about like the life skills you can teach your kid. As a parent, you're like, fuck me, yeah, I want that. Let's have a look at it. You know, like that. Like we're not thinking. In my opinion, I don't think we think too much outside of the whole, oh, let's tell people we want them to join our club.
Yeah. I think
someone's just said, for me, discipline became a big one. Yeah, I think discipline's huge. I've got ADD and ADHD, and there was a marked difference in me prior to being an American football player and then after it, because of the amount of discipline I learned through it. And I genuinely I know this is cheesy, but I don't believe I would have been as successful in life as I have been had I not played American football.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because we could discuss it all night, and we're 2 hours in. We're going to have to end the show soon.
Yeah.
There's obviously some people did mention this, is the recruiting from your youth teams, etc. I think that's probably a conversation for another day, purely because of the depth of it. Yes, you can recruit from your youth teams, and you know the problem with that is a long-term goal. It's not a fix and immediate and short-term kind of problems. You know, if you've got a squad of 30, you need to recruit now. You know, there's no point creating a youth team because you're not going to see the dividends for 5-10 years. Type thing. But I get it's a legitimate conversation. I'm just kind of cautious at the time, and like I say, we could talk about youth football and recruiting people, and definitely I think we don't do enough in schools. You know, it'd be good to speak to Adam. You know, if he'll come up. That's his job.
Adam is I know that he's speaking to BAFA about this and hopefully going to put some sort of program together with them. So I imagine, because I know that they're talking about it, I imagine that once he sort of worked that out, it'll be ready to be able to talk about it publicly. But that would be amazing, because that's the key to everything, is young kids playing this sport with good coaching. That's it. I genuinely think that spending time and money and effort on that, on the adults that are already playing it, it's like you're preaching to the choir. They're already converted. They're already in the sport, and I don't know. Like, to an extent, the money is better spent at the bottom, at that bottom of the pyramid, if you like. I'm a huge advocate for developing the youth side.
So like I say, we could go into it lots more deeper, but we just don't have the time. On that note, you've obviously got a very good guest tomorrow. Do you want to just quickly go through?
And I need to. Do you know what? I need to message him and probably change the time. But at the moment, it's booked for 7:30. But I think based on the way tonight went with my two boys going to sleep, we need to put it at 8 o'clock, because my missus is doing a nut. So Pete Ackley, who is the CEO of BAFA. I met with him. I can't remember what I messaged. I think I messaged him about building, understanding the youth. No, yeah, the new youth flag structure and the teams in it, so that we could build it out on our Find a Club site. And then he messaged back saying, "Yeah, it'd be good for us to actually have a catch up and meaning to speak to you." I was like, "Yeah, cool." So we had a Zoom session a couple of weeks ago. Oh, well, a week ago. It was quite quick we moved on this actually, and me and him had a really good chat. We chatted for about an hour, and it was basically he introduced himself to me. I introduced myself to him, like our backgrounds, and then we talked a very little about our views on American football and like how people view BAFA and and just like some high level stuff. But I was really impressed with how much of a grip and holding and understanding he's got of the sport in the short time he's been involved with it.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, at the end of it, he said, "I'd love to get," like he said, "Look, we've got this 10-year plan." We shared it at the AGM. We did a 2-hour Q&A afterwards. I'd love to, get through whatever medium, talk about it through Gridiron Hub. And I was like, well, let's do a live stream. And I think he's quite, I think he's quite brave doing a live stream. Now, I did say to him, look, I'm not here to sabotage and savage people. I said, the moment I do that, yeah, I get one live stream that goes through the roof with all the stats. Like I said, I like my stats, right? But after that, no one else wants to come and speak to me. So, it's not, I know that there can be some very controversial issues and people can get quite heated when talking to and about BAFA. This has to be a focus session. So we're going to be talking about the 10-year plan, and he's going to be sharing it. We've got some slides, and I suppose I'm going to be devil's advocate in it and sort of prodding him and saying, like, why is that a focus, and why do you think that's going to be the success of it? So really, like, I really want to dissect with him this 10-year plan and understand it. That's what we'll be doing. It will be live, so we will be having comments coming in, but we're going to have to keep it on topic because you know so well, like, we could just go anywhere with someone like Pete on. We need to keep it on development. We need to keep it on future looking. And I said to him, there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about subject wise. Just one actually, and that's similar to this. I want to talk to him about how do you attract and motivate volunteers, because a lot of our clubs need to do it, and we need to do it at Gridiron Hub, and they need to do it at BAFA. So it's quite a universal
prominent conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but I've got an answer for it, but I'd love to hear what what his answer is, and then we can have a debate a discussion about it. So yeah, so that's a very, very long description of what we're doing tomorrow. But essentially, me and Pete Ackley are going to be talking through BAFA's. Well, he's going to be telling us about BAFA's 10-year plan, and everyone who's watching is going to be asking questions about it.
Do you know what, mate? I'm really excited for it. Like, genuinely really excited for it. I think it's going to be a really good show. I'd love to know what our American footback is.
You're one to talk, mate. You can't spell anything ever.
I've actually I actually think that Shaw is. Remember Ryan? He used to come on and do stuff like this.
No, it's not him.
What
was that comment he said though? Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone to the taster session.
Sorry.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair enough. No, I don't think Uniball refs are volunteers. I think they are BAFRA. I think a lot of coaches will get involved.
I'm fairly I know that, like, there will be some level 1 coaches that get involved but that happens in flag as well. They almost I think they're moving towards a model where they can entirely self-referee.
Yeah.
That actually creates has created a resource issue, because the refs are either available for Uniball or they're available for senior ball kitted, or what's the official term? Adult contact is the new official term. They're either available for one or the other, so the seasons can't overlap, and you can't postpone one because of bad weather, which always happens with Uniball. They have like rain weeks where they don't schedule any games and they just hope that they can cram all the games in. And all of this, most of it's driven by one by the Uniball season, university season, but because they've got a crescendo at the end of their sporting, like Bucks Big Wednesday, like all of the finals are played on.
Never got there.
Yeah. So they've got that time pressure, but yeah, from a resource perspective, we couldn't run a season at the same time or overlapping in any way because we just don't have the resources from a referee's perspective. So they definitely use the same ones.
But yeah, on that note, I'd like to thank everyone who's commented, everyone who's watched. Thanks, Steve, for giving us his great insight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow because you're going to have a good conversation with Pete. And I know what you're like. You'll be fair with him, but you will hold him to account on what he's saying, which is great.
Well, I like people to explain their logic behind the things they're saying. So, like, why have you decided that's the right thing to do when you could have also done this? And like, I don't mean it like, and you know as well, like, I don't say those questions to catch people out because I don't try and trick people. It's just to like, I want your confidence. I want you to tell me the logic behind the decision. So that like that's what I'm sort of going into it expecting to do, and you know, I'm really looking forward to it because we had a very brief discussion over it, but I don't know the detail of it, so I'll be learning a lot of this first time tomorrow. So
I'm really excited.
And I wanted to keep it like that.
And to be a bit big-headed, if anybody uses any of our tactics and they're a success for you, either, you know, what Steve said, all right, because, you know, that's what we're here for. We're here to...
not big-headed. I'd really appreciate that sort of feedback. And, you know, I'm, like I said at the top of the show, like, I don't know about recruitment. I've never had to do that for a club, but I do know about social media, I do know about marketing, and I do know about concepts and things that I see and how I think and feel about them, so I can share a certain level of insight. And I hope that there's been some stuff that you guys can take away and try out at your clubs. And you know, if you guys need some more advice or help with it, just get in touch. You know, I'm more than happy to sort of go through stuff with people.
I was going to say,
the Grinder one, I'll probably draw the line there. I probably should have just said it was a catfishing rather than saying Grinder, but I'll draw the line there, Chris. I'll let you guys try that by yourselves. But I love it. It was really such a funny example of guerrilla marketing.
I was going to say, if you learned anything today, you've learned
that's the annoying thing, isn't it? We go through like 2 hours of stuff and everyone just focuses on that like 6-minute bit, and that's what they go and tell their mates.
Yeah. Steve, have you got social media that my guys can contact you on? Just go through Gridiron Hub.
Will and I and a couple of others monitor it, but I'm pretty much the one that will respond. Like in terms of the inbox, like everyone can access it, but I'm really the one that responds anyway. So just send us a message on there.
And you know what? If it is a success, it'd be great to share stories with other clubs, what success clubs have had.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
We're all in this together. You know, I know there's you might hate each other on the field, but our aim as a kind of community should be to grow this sport, and a massive part of that is recruiting. So
I would say this community is extremely strong, fair. You know, they've got a strong moral compass, and people do understand the concept of pulling together for the greater good. There's not many people like dragging others down when it comes to like understanding the growth of the sport. I think we're very lucky in that regard. People are very protective of, you know, of the sport. So I'd love to like have a couple of win stories with a couple of clubs, and then we can share that with the wider audience. And it's not just Steve chatting shit on a fucking live stream. We actually can show some results. So I'm more than happy to get stuck in and you know, put my money where my mouth is, sort of thing.
He's popped up. Yeah, no, just like I say, keep in contact with us. We're all here to grow the sport, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Be back tomorrow for Steve's show. It's going to be really good. I'm really excited.
Yeah, cool. Well, don't. Yeah, and it'll probably move to 8, so I'll probably post about it tomorrow. I need to confirm with Pete because 7:30 just didn't work for me. But yeah, cool. I've really enjoyed that one, Will. Thanks for getting me on, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.